What is up guys, Tim Murray here. Today we're going to be looking at the latest and greatest and partly free VST offering from ML SoundLab, namely ML Drums. Check it out. Now before this video starts, a big thank you to ML SoundLab for allowing me to assist in testing for ML Drums and also just for supporting me over the years. They're a fantastic company to deal with and they're always super passionate about what they're putting out. With that being said, this is not a paid promotion or anything, so any thoughts and opinions will be my own. And also ML SoundLab will be seeing this video at the same time as all of you, so no content has been catered here. So a little bit of background about how I use VST drums in my workflow before we start. I started out years ago using Superior Drummer 2 and the Metal Foundry expansion kit. This served me well over the years, however it was a little bit pricey for me to consider upgrading to Superior Drummer 3 when it came out, so I started looking at other options. For the past year or so I've been using both the Invasion and Periphery 4 kits from Get Good Drums in sort of a Franken kit, awkwardly multi-routed kind of way, with a bit of sample reinforcement from Butch Vig drums from Native Instruments and also some dubstep drum packs that I used from when I briefly ventured into electronic music. So now ML SoundLab has ventured into the world of drum libraries, after providing some great sounding amp sim plugins and cabinet impulse responses over the past few years. ML SoundLab generally offer their plugins with competitive pricing anyway, however a couple of their amp sims actually come with free amps entirely. Take Amped Roots for example. So rather than being free trials, they literally just give you one of the 4 amps in the pack for free, no questions asked. Even when Amped Roots was updated to their new Warner amp modeling and 3D cabinet mic placement technology, the 5034 Fluff amp was still updated for free. This business model now extends over to the new ML Drums plugin. As I said in the intro to this video, the base plugin is free, and you'll get a basic kit simply by installing it. It's not like some plugins where the free evaluation versions will cut out every 10 seconds either, which is fantastic. However, the paid version of this plugin is where things start to get a bit more full on. Once you've purchased a license for the full version of the plugin, you'll now have access to different snare tunings, different kick drum mics, additional toms, and the addition of many different cymbals, including chinas, stacks, crashes, etc. For me personally, the base kit is great and will get the job done if you're on a budget, however, the addition of the extra cymbals would be enough for me to go for the full license straight away. Given I've been going down the rabbit hole of metalcore and deathcore recently, can I really go without a china cymbal? Now let's start going over the actual plugin in depth. First big positive is that this plugin is its own VST, so there's no requirement for Kontakt or Kontakt Player to use ML Drums. Simply drag it onto a MIDI track and you're good to go. First impression of the plugin was that I really enjoyed the user interface. It's super clean and super refined, with minimal clutter. There's a couple of different tabs up the top for specific controls, but no major settings are hidden behind drop-down menus at all. Everything is just kinda where it should be in my opinion. This simplicity also transfers over to their implementation of multi-routing. Multi-routing meaning having each virtual drum channel in ML Drums come through on a different track in your digital audio workstation. For those of you that have had experience with Kontakt, you may know that multi-routing can be a bit janky, at least for beginner users. With ML Drums and Ableton, however, all I had to do was create one MIDI track with ML Drums on it and then 8 additional audio tracks, completely drop the volume on the MIDI track and then change the input routing of each audio track in Ableton to a corresponding track from ML Drums. The multi-out is already set up as standard, so it'll be in the drop-down menu straight away. Super convenient. And if you ever want to simply have everything routed through a single channel, just use the one MIDI track and the whole kit will automatically go through that channel. hence why we needed to drop the volume when running multi-channel. Moving even further into the convenience factor of this plugin, ML Drums also has a MIDI tab that is super useful for switching between drum plugins. In the top right corner of this MIDI view, there is a MIDI preset drop-down menu that allows you to quickly reroute all of the pieces of kit to different MIDI notes. So if you've written a drum line with a GGD drum library and want to quickly copy that MIDI file over to ML Drums, simply select GGD in the MIDI preset and it's all done for you. I found when I switched from Superior Drummer 2 over to GGD that it was quite odd that there wasn't a standardized way of mapping drums across different plugins. So this is another big win in my opinion. Given ML Drums can also operate as a standalone plugin for use with electronic drum kits, this will also be very handy for that. You can also create and save all of your own mapping presets too. Now looking at the Mixer tab in ML Drums, this is where you can control all of your volumes, basic EQ, compression, reverb amount and channel bleed. Note that even when you have the plugin routed for use with multi-channels, any changes made in here will also affect the individual drum channels. Say you add some overhead mic bleed on the snare channel, this will also be sent to your overhead channel in your DAW. Which does bring me to a point about the plugin, and that is that all of the EQs, reverb and compression all have hardwired settings that have been catered towards the drum sounds. So if you want to accentuate a certain frequency range on the kick drum that is outside of what the EQ and ML Drums can do, you're going to have to EQ out of the box, so to speak. I don't really see this as a negative, as much like other music production nerds, I've got a lot of plugins that I naturally go for with certain applications. For example, even though ML Drums has a compressor built in, I'm still highly likely to use a Fairchild 670 style compressor for parallel compression. And though there is a reverb built in, it'll be hard for me to not automatically just reach for Native Instruments RAW or Baby Audio's Crystalline. Once again, there's nothing wrong with ML Drums compression or reverb, but if you want something with more in-depth control, you're going to want to use multi-outs. I feel ML SoundLab have found a pretty happy medium between having a really basic, clean interface to help beginner users out, but also still providing enough functionality and routing options to keep the power-hungry audio nerds like myself at bay. With that being said, some feedback I have on the plugin would be that I would like to have the option to control individual volume, not just with velocity, and panning for each cymbal in the overhead section. While in the conventional way of recording real drums, this isn't really doable unless you add another mic to a specific cymbal. Like if it's printed on your overhead channel, you can't then just adjust one cymbal's volume. You could just walk into the live room and move one of the mics, or even just move the cymbals around a bit, though this may also make the drummer want to hit you, so tread carefully. I guess that's another positive. ML Drums can't yell at you or hit you when it doesn't agree with you, and that is not a feature I'll be requesting. Another thing that would potentially improve this plugin would be if we could actually move some of the cymbals' placement around the kit. Something I've noticed is that there are two China cymbals on the full version, the left side being an AX 19-inch and the right side being an HX 20-inch. I'd love the option to be able to choose either for each side, or at least be able to adjust the cymbals' panning in the plugin itself. I don't know if this is just me, but sometimes when I listen to a full mix that I'm working on, I sometimes just want to ever so slightly adjust the pitch or panning on a cymbal for certain riffs. Like sometimes I'll be there vibing to something I've written with my 8-string, but then I would just fixate on the fact that I would rather have the main cymbal I'm using in that part to be panned slightly more to the right or pitched lower down. In the big picture, that isn't really an issue, however, in that moment when you're fully zoned in, it can feel like life or death. Now I know that switching the cymbals around should be doable at some point, and that is due to the shop tab within the plugin. The whole idea of the plugin is around the fact that you'll be able to get more and more pieces through the shop in the future, and then you'll be able to mix and match your favorite pieces of kit into sort of a Franken kit. Now I did mention about using two different GGD libraries previously, and that was because I really like the snare drums from the Periphery 4 kit, but then everything else from the Invasion kit. However, even if you own both, you still need to have both plugins open in Contact to do this, and then the routing also becomes a bit of a hassle. ML Drums have fixed this issue by consolidating all of their drums into one non-Contact plugin, and they aim to keep it that way too. That means anything that gets added to the shop in the future will work with all existing pieces of kit. Maybe you like the original kick drums but prefer the newer snares. Not a problem. If you own both, they're still in the same plugin. This and this alone is the main reason that I'm really hyped about this release, and I really look forward to what they have to offer. I would also love to see some additional electronic style samples that I could layer with the acoustic pieces for some meaty breakdowns. So concluding this video with my overall thoughts, there is now a new serious contender on the block for drum plugins, be it the really simple and intuitive user interface to the option of expandability within the same plugin via the shop. This plugin has a lot going for it. While there could be some more options available for cymbal placement or adjustment in my opinion, you get a seriously good drum plugin for the price, and it's only going to get better with future editions. I'd highly recommend this plugin, and I'd like to reinforce here that this is solely my opinion too, this is not a paid review. So thanks for watching. I hope this has given you all the information that you were looking for on ML drums. If you have any more questions about this plugin, or anything music related for that matter, fire it down in the comments below. Big thanks to ML Sound Lab for the support, and big thanks to all of you that have subscribed for more. Irregardless of that, have a wonderful day. Timmy out.